Monday, December 4th. I'm Rim.
And I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight we talk a bit about the old days of internet video.
Let's do this.
So we're back after yet another exciting weekend here in Geek House land.
Well, it's the weekend of, hey, everyone came over and messed up our house.
They didn't mess it up nearly so bad as they have in days past.
Not as they usually do, but
I think
still.
it's partly because the last several times people have come over, we have bit by bit called them out on the messes they make. And now some of them are taking it upon themselves to start to clean up some of the messes or to avoid making them. Though, despite the fact that we provided an infinite number of plastic cups and plastic plates, these people used an inordinate number of non-plastic dishes.
I don't know what the hell's up with that. I mean, it didn't.
Well,
plates didn't get used too much, but they did use a lot of plastic cups, but many glass cups were dirty.
Now, here's what I don't get. We had, like 10, 11 people in the house.
Yep.
There were like 40 plastic cups out, and they were almost all used. What the hell?
Can't people just take one plastic cup and that's it, and use it over and over? I mean, if you change beverages, I can understand.
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean,
but maybe 30 should be used, not 40. And that's if everyone drinks 3 different beverages.
And remember,
including me.
It's not like that was the whole weekend. Most people showed up Saturday afternoon, evening.
Yeah.
In fact, only Jess was here Friday, and she used a glass because I poured a drink into it.
Yeah, we accounted for the glasses. It turns out like 5 to 6 or maybe even 10 glasses were used by people we don't know.
Yep, but a couple of them, I think Wyatt asked if he could drink his beer out of an actual glass instead of out of a plastic cup, and that was perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, we accounted for a few of them, but not all of them.
Yeah.
Most of them were unaccounted for.
Though the house was significantly less trash than usual.
Yeah, it's less trash than it has been in the past, but at the same time, it hasn't been trashed recently. So it was kind of like, this hasn't happened in a while.
Well, the living room was half trash before anyone got there, just from your Wii stuff that you finally cleaned up.
Well, the Wii stuff isn't trash. It's, it's just controllers. And they move around.
Until right before everyone came, the living room was strewn with Wii boxes and your GameCube and controllers all over the place and dead batteries laying everywhere.
There weren't dead batteries laying everywhere. There were 2 dead batteries that rolled off the little thing onto the floor.
I picked up 4 batteries, individual batteries.
Well, maybe some of them fell out of the battery bag.
On Wednesday and threw them
most
away.
of the trash was in the Wii bag from the Wii store. And it's still there because I didn't throw that bag out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and other
anyway,
than that, I actually, it's kind of related. It's Tech Day, Science Day. I worked Saturday morning, which is something I almost would never do. I
would never work Saturday.
Well, I did it because I wanted a day off that I hadn't put in for. And they were kind of, we didn't want you in that day. So I was like, all right, I'll work that Saturday if you give me an extra vacation day and give me that day off and feed me and blah, blah, blah. And they agreed to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I traded that one Saturday morning to have basically a 4-day weekend.
That's all right.
Yeah, even though, 4 or 5 o'clock rolls around and I'm like, all right, I got to go. You scheduled me for 8 hours today and my time is up. And the person there got kind of mad. And no, you have to stay till the job's done. And I'm not that kind of person, so I totally didn't stay.
Awesome. Yeah, I would definitely not work Saturday. Well, unless they paid me a shit ton of monies and I was actually doing something. And I wouldn't stay a minute longer than I had to.
Oh, no.
I'd be like, here I am at exactly the time I'm supposed to get here.
Well, there have been other times they've tried to get me to work at night or on a weekend. And they always say, hey, are you free tomorrow night? And I'll say, no. Or, hey, what are you doing? Are you going to be around Saturday? We kind of need someone to be like, I have plans. I wonder what they'll notice when they realize that I always have plans. And 2, when they realize that I'm not lying, I really do always have plans.
Yeah, I mean, what's up with those people who get pressured into stuff by bosses and such?
Harold and Kumar.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are people like that.
You know what it is? People are afraid of being fired. Yet I've realized that as long as you're good enough at your job to where you're not a total fuck up, your company's not going to fire you unless they wanted to fire you anyway. If you work harder, no one's going to notice and no one's going to care.
Yeah, I mean, I do nothing and no one seems to care. So if you are the type of person who actually does work at work all day, the only way you're going to get fired is if there's layoffs or anything like that.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but you know what matters a lot more than being good at your job? Being cool or personable or just generally having people in management like you.
Yeah, and you know what else? If firing scares you, that probably means you don't have enough skills to get another job easily. If I was fired today, I could have a new job next week that paid probably more than the job I have now.
Yeah.
So firing is not something I fear. But
well, you're kind of hoping for it.
Yeah, kind of. So if you are afraid of being, think about your job right now if you have a job. Are you afraid of being fired? If so, you should be building your skills in your spare time because you are in fucking trouble. All right.
Yeah, we should get on to the news. Maybe we'll do an episode someday on jobs.
Sounds like a good episode, but
yeah. So
we didn't say it. One more thing is we played D&D for the first time in a long time on Sunday. And we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be kind of a big show just because of the fact that we haven't talked about role-playing games much since the Burning Wheel interview with Luke Crane, or the Luke Crane interview about Burning Wheel, however you want to phrase that. But having played D&D again after a multi-year hiatus, we got quite a bit to say about Dungeons & Dragons, and I think we're going to do a whole bunch of episodes on it in the near future.
Possibly. At least one tomorrow.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We had a geek back. We're going to hold off on it just because I forgot about it until just now.
All
and
right.
I don't want to pull it up on the computer.
All right, pull it up when it's relevant.
Yeah, it'll never be relevant.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so in the British Isles, in Britain and all that.
Which one?
Albion.
Okay.
So in Albion, they have recently discovered a Roman casket, an ancient Roman coffin with an ancient Roman body that is missing its head.
Ooh.
Yeah, they talk a bit about why they think the head's missing, but
it was on a stake out by the river
now
to ward off pirates.
Yes, the pirates that came to Britain.
The Roman pirates.
Well, I mean, there were the Vikings and the Normans and all.
You mean
those,
the Roman pirates?
The Roman pirates.
Lol.
Okay. For those of you who know me, I've been on a bit of a Roman history kick lately.
A bit of a kick, more like a freaking boot with a rocket on it. Rocket boot.
I am a kind of person who, if something, my life, I go about it in kind of an aimless fashion. I have long-term goals, like rule the world, become president, have a podcast. And I have short-term goals like eat this sandwich, walk over there, drink a soda.
What about the in-between?
The in-between is totally dependent upon the situations in which I find myself. And I tend to take a fancy to something. And if I take a fancy to something, I'll get really into it really quick. And I'll probably forget about it really quick as well. Like, a while ago, Emily was learning Korean. And I was trying to learn Korean too. And I was really getting into it. And I learned Hangul. And I was learning, like, I could go to a restaurant and order things. And I was doing okay. Like, early basic beginner stuff, but I was doing all right. Since then, I've totally forgotten Hangul.
Good job.
Yeah, like 100%. I don't remember any of it. I vaguely remember how it's structured.
How about when you were reading all those Horatio Hornblower things?
No, the only reason that ended is because I finished all of them. That was a fancy that never ended. I like Horatio Hornblower more than anything. However, I am
more
not...
than Rome?
The thing is with Horatio is that the books ended, and the only outlet I have for my aggression now would be the Horatio Hornblower Fan Fiction Archive, a site that I'm not going to visit again.
Okay, are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure. I don't want to know about how
Rim
Horatio
secretly goes to the Horatio Hornblower Fan Fiction Archive.
About how Horatio saved the furries.
But did you write that one?
Anyway. But ever since I started listening to my favorite podcast, and also one of the first podcasts I ever listened to, 12 Byzantine Emperors, consider this a plug. The guy doesn't have a promo or anything, but it is seriously the best podcast out there. 12 Byzantine...
I don't agree, but it's good.
What would you say is the best podcast out there other than Geeknights?
The best podcast there is anywhere?
Yeah. I mean, you can't say Pendulette.
Well, if it's not one that if it's one I don't listen to, that would probably be dishonest, wouldn't it?
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. It's a tough call.
All right, what's your favorite non-Geek Nights podcast?
It's also a tough call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should probably do a show on that. We'll just do shows on everything. But no, 12 Byzantine Emperors is an absolutely amazing podcast.
It is amazing. It's not the best.
And also, I didn't know much about Byzantine history. Pretty much,
I didn't know shit.
From the time when Rome, like 476 AD, when Rome falls in popular history, and everyone kind of ignored all the history after that, other than like the Middle Ages crap in like Europe, until suddenly the Renaissance. And I really got off on that. I really thought it was cool, and I've been voraciously finding any Roman and Byzantine history I can. So when I saw this article, now, yeah, back on topic here, the article isn't that special in and of itself in that, oh, we found something Roman in Britain. Well, the Romans colonized Britain and had stuff there for a long time. You can just throw a spit and you'll hit something Roman in Britain. Well, Albion. But the interesting thing is they found this body in a place where they didn't think Romans ever had permanent settlements.
Maybe it wasn't a permanent settlement. Maybe it was like the guy died, they dropped him off, they moved on.
No.
No?
It's more that more and more evidence comes out that the Roman Empire was in many ways even larger and more advanced than we realized. And I guess my point here in this article is simply that Roman history, as you might have learned in school, or what you'll get if you read big coffee table books, is interesting, but a lot of it's kind of made up. And they discover totally new things all the time. We're still learning about Rome. There is no definitive answer as to just about anything involving that empire.
I think the problem with history is that there's just so much information. Even if you don't include the information we don't know yet, there's so much information that we do know. And, I mean, we could just spend all 12 grades of school teaching people about, like, one part of history and not finish it. So when you leave stuff out, it gets distorted greatly, you know.
Well, also that we don't have a lot, so we have to make things up and fill in the gaps.
Yeah, but at least we make something up that makes sense or is entertaining or interesting.
Yeah. Like the time I'd slain all the dinosaurs living in the center of the earth, thus saving Dave and Joel's Fast Karate for the Gentleman from certain doom.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right.
I hate playing promos, but I want to promote other podcasts, but I'm done playing promos. I just think they sound dumb. I'm sorry.
All right.
So I'm just going to name podcasts periodically that I like.
Awesome. So there's a big deal now. You know, the whole Microsoft Novell deal that went down, and people are all going, this is going to be like SEO round 2 and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, Microsoft and these people basically made some deals that
patents this, suing that, et cetera, et cetera.
It opens up the Linux community to a lot more bullshit than they're willing to deal with right now.
Yeah. So the latest blow in this round is that Novell put out a press release that says Novell boosts OpenOffice and Microsoft Office interoperability. Novell to support OpenXML format to advance document interoperability. So OpenOffice.org, which is the Office suite of choice for open source peoples, and that is free that you can download from OpenOffice.org for any operating system, uses a format called Open Document Format. It's an XML format, and it's wide open. If you wanted to make a piece of software that reads and writes open document format files, it's pretty damn easy because there's documentation that says, this is how the files work. Here it is. Microsoft doesn't have open documents. They have doc files, and the latest version of doc files are the Open XML format.
Notice the word open.
Which is not very open because there is no document, at least no document that is available to everyone that says, this is how these files work, 100%. I mean, there's some documents that tell you a little bit how they work, but you cannot easily or legally, really, create a program that can read and write Microsoft Office OpenXML format files like you can with OpenOffice files. This is a big deal for many reasons. It's one of the reasons that the state of Massachusetts is thinking about moving to open document format, and many governments around the world, because if you don't use open document format or another format which is truly open, then you're basically beholden to Microsoft as the only people who can provide software that can read your important Office documents.
The reason Microsoft never embraces any of these open formats is simply that not many people would continue to use Microsoft Office suites with their crazy high price tags if they weren't forced to by the fact that other people use them.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that guy over there made a document file. The only program that can possibly read that file properly. I mean, there are ways to read it. There's plenty of little converters and things, but the only thing that can read it properly and edit it properly is is Microsoft Office,
In fact,
which is
there have been-
$1 jillion.
There have been lawsuits and such where, like, say a state agency requires if you do something online, you have to send a doc file. Now, think about that for a minute. That means that in order to do the thing with the government that they're offering, you have to purchase a third-party piece of software that is unrelated to the government in any way, and you must do that in order to interface with your government, the government you're paying for with your tax dollars.
It's exactly the same as if you were driving down the road and you wanted to make a right turn, and it's a government public road that your tax dollars paid for, and they said, no, only Ford cars can drive on this road.
Yeah.
That's
Chevy's got to go that
exactly what
way.
it is. It's a perfect analogy. If you don't agree, you don't understand technology. Anyway, what's happening here is Novell. First of all, you're going to see the headlines all say Novell forking OpenOffice.org. That's not true. Novell forked OpenOffice.org a while ago. And if you use SUSE Linux, the default OpenOffice actually says Novell on it because they forked it a while ago. And the real OpenOffice, since they tend to take a lot of things, because the way the GPL works is, if you write code into GPL software, then you have to release it and people take it back. And so the real OpenOffice looks at that one and uses it for their Linux build a lot. Well, Novell has said, all right, this is what we're going to do. First, we're going to make a little plug-in interface for our fork of OpenOffice. All right, they're going to make a little plug-in interface, and that plug-in interface will be open source, as it is legally required to be. Then we're going to release a few plugins you can put in that plug-in interface that will let you open and convert Microsoft Office OpenXML files really easily. All right, you can do that too, but they're not going to open source the converters, but they don't have to because of the way it works. See, a lot of people are like, oh, there's going to be lawsuits and patents and all this, and this is what they're worried about. No, what they're really doing is this. Microsoft realizes that Vista is not really going to be the biggest hit in the universe. So what they've done is they're saying, all right, the basic reasons that Linux can't make it on the corporate desktop is a lot of it is not being interoperable with Microsoft and its products that have already dominated the corporate desktop. So what they've done is they basically bought out Novell. They're going to make SUSE Linux, which is the Linux that Novell sort of owns, kind of, and they're going to make it interoperable, basically eliminating every other Linux's chance of desktop movement in the corporate zone.
Yeah, luckily not that many people use any stuff anyway right now. I mean, a lot of companies are moving toward Ubuntu, just because it's so easy. And it just works.
Yeah, but those are only companies where there are smart people.
Yeah. But things will change over time. I mean, look, France is moving toward Linux. I don't think they're going to use any of this Novell business.
Yeah, the thing is, if you're a company and, you want to move to Linux and then you say, hey, this Linux over here, this one works, can read all my old documents, and that one can't. Which one am I going to use? Oh, I'm actually still tied into Microsoft. I just think I'm cool because I'm using Linux now. It's really not the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah, there's really no easy answer except for people to actually stand up to Microsoft and say they're not going to use their proprietary document standards, which I don't. I haven't used docs in forever.
Yeah, me either. But it seems like, obviously, all the open source community people, even the people who are less crazy like ourselves, are going, up, fuck SUSE, it's done. Novell is done. Anything they do is basically like... I don't know, Dragon's Bane, and we're not going near it. We gotta stay far away.
Dragon's Bane?
Yeah.
That would imply that we're dragons.
Well, if you're awesome enough to use open source software and know about Linux, you might be awesome dragon.
Man, I got to stop playing with this keyboard when I should be doing the show.
I'll just cut the power wire on it, then you won't be able to do anything.
I didn't even look. I wonder if the power wire is the right one for the other compressor. The company is still out of stock.
Oh, wow. Did you check recently?
I called them a week ago, and they're like, yeah, we don't have any
It
power.
doesn't look like it's the right one because that transformer's real big, and the one for that compressor was real small.
True.
Yeah.
I just thought of it suddenly. But I can make such cheesy music with this thing. It's so fantastic.
It's like the ultimate 80s box, for sure. I mean, if you had one of these in someone's house in the 80s, they wouldn't need to buy any cassette tapes.
Man, if only we could have the consumer tech like this a decade early.
Oh, so today we'd have the keyboard that makes 2000s music just perfectly. Like, we push a button and, like, record company techno
Because
comes
seriously,
out.
some of the accompaniments and instruments built into this keyboard wouldn't sound out of place at all in an 80s movie soundtrack, like straight up.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think I've heard these songs in movies before.
Yeah. So, I mean, seriously, we could somehow get a keyboard that, we bring it to, like, a club, pushes buttons, and all of a sudden we're the best DJ in the world.
Yeah, anyway, things of the day.
Oh, shit.
So, a while ago, we had a thing of the day about a stupid criminal who kept falling through the roof and all sorts of hilarious hijinks. I was going to use as my thing of the day the Benny Hill remix of that. But instead, I have to use this wonderful gem of a criminal who broke into some dude's house naked in the middle of the night and fell asleep on the couch.
Well, it's unknown. What, you went through that too quickly. You gotta tell that one slow.
Well, I gotta tell it slow. I gotta get pendulette style. All right.
Well, the other thing is we don't know if he was naked before he broke in or after.
It's tough to say.
It is.
All right. The actual story here is this guy comes home late at night. He sees
3:30 a.m.
his window's been broken. So he goes into his house all suspicious-like, and there's a naked black man laying there, sound asleep on the couch. Doesn't even
it's a
wake
black
up.
man broke into a black man's house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's laying there, except for he's got like a sheet kind of over his genitals.
I think the guy who owns the house put that there.
I don't know. It's not entirely clear.
It's not entirely clear, but I think so.
I'll admit the guy who filmed this, I mean, it's probably not staged, but I wouldn't wake the guy up with a camera. I would just wait for the police to show up.
Well, the police showed up like 10 seconds later. I mean,
yeah, but he films himself basically going, you got to see this. And then he goes into his house and he films this guy just naked and asleep. And then, for whatever reason, he decides to wake the guy up.
well, he kicks him, which is what I would have done first. I would have kicked him square in his naked ass nuts.
And the guy wakes up and is suitably indignant, though suitably dazed and confused at first.
Yeah. The only thing I can, like, with the guy who owns the house, I can tell what he's saying. Mostly, fuck you. What the fuck you doing in my house?
Best I can tell, the guy who broke in says, what?
No, the best I can tell is when the guy kicks him awake, he's like, you broke into my house. The guy's like, how you know that? That's what I think he says. It's up for debate.
There's nothing there. This guy is about on the level of the guy who broke into that convenience store.
Yeah, the funniest part of the video is after the guy, kicks the intruder enough that he's down on the ground, the cops show up, and the cop just walks in and he's like, what's going on here? And the guy says, motherfucker broke in my house, and he arrests him right there.
Yep. And the great thing is the guy, like, he beats the guy up a little bit. He starts kicking him, the robber. And then the robber is looking at him with the look of, I'm going to take you down, right when the cop walks in.
Yeah, I mean, and at least he doesn't fight the cop. He just he just goes down.
It's pretty funny. I don't know, if I came home and there was a naked guy laying on the couch, I would probably just call the police and wait outside, and if he came to try to leave the house, I'd probably hit him with a bat or something.
Yeah, I would pretty much just stand there with the video camera watching him so I get a video of the police arresting him for
I just take a picture. I never would have thought to video it.
Well, because we don't have a camera.
Yeah, we do.
Not a useful one.
We have a camcorder.
Anyway.
That camcorder cost over $3,000
Yeah.
in 1986.
So, I would definitely video it if I had the equipment. But I wouldn't wake him up before the cops got there. If he did wake up before the cops got there, I would have a bat and I'd just go wham, and he'd be on the. I thing is, I wouldn't want to make a mess. Like I try to hit him in the nuts. I don't want his head bleeding all over my carpet or anything.
But you don't want nut all over your carpet either.
There won't be nut. If you hit a guy in the nuts with a baseball bat, it'll just send his nuts flying into his stomach.
You know what I would do? I'd probably go into the closet where I got that old sword, and I just stand there looking real fucked up and menacing with it.
But yeah, you don't want to actually poke him though, because then you'll leave even more blood.
Yeah, but you know what?
The trick is there's a naked guy on your couch who's already made a mess by being naked on your couch. And he's got
that couch.
He's got his naked hobo slime on your couch.
The couch is forfeit.
I know. So you don't want to do any more damage by getting blood everywhere.
No, because it'll all stay in the couch.
Eh.
You spear him with the sword into the couch like a pushpin.
But then the blood might leak onto the carpet under the couch.
Not our couch. Our couch is sturdy. It'll hold it in.
I don't know about that. Anyway, my thing today is pretty short, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, even though I could easily. I'm just going to
All right, you know how to read.
Yeah, I do know how to. Well, it's very short, so it wouldn't take too long. I do know how to read, yes. I am literate. Hooked on phonics works for me.
That was really lame.
You suck.
No one makes hooked on phonics jokes anymore.
Now they do.
Yeah,
So-
1996 called. They want their joke back. And you know what? SNL called me. They want that joke back too.
So, this is a little web page that describes the intelligent design sort. Now, if you're not a programmer, you might not know what a sort is. Pretty much, let's say you have a bunch of stuff and you got to put it in order, right? So I've got the numbers 1, 2, and 3, and I've got them just sitting there. I got to put them in order. There are many different ways to write a program that does that. There's a bubble sort.
That was the first one I was going to say.
Yeah, there's a quick sort. There's all sorts of different sorts. And
all sorts of sorts?
yes, the intelligent design sort is obviously not an actual sort, but a bit of comedy that combines the, quote, theory of intelligent design with the principle of a sorting algorithm. And it is quite hilarious.
Fairly well done. Good show.
Good show. So here's your thing of the day.
Right, so being lazy, as we tend to be on Mondays, we were going to talk about, codecs and all that. We've said we're going to talk about that before. Video on to internet. And we realized, not to sound like crotchety old men, that many of you out there are spoiled young kids with your YouTube and your Google video who have no idea the trouble that people used to have to go through to see any sort of moving content onto internet.
So hopefully, when YouTube finally existed and finally worked properly, it was like, whoa, finally, it is here. You have you can't understand what we went through before we had this modern technology.
Yeah, this is 10 years of anticipation for
so
all of us.
hopefully this will give you some appreciation of those who came before.
See, we grew up when the internet was the wild, wild west, where most people who had...
Even before the internet. Let's talk about the video before
Well, I was
going to
say, the internet was around, but most people who had internet didn't actually have internet. They had, like, Prodigy or something. And seeing a moving thing on the internet in a website was this unfathomable dream.
Well, seeing a video on your computer was already unfathomable. People would have something on their computer like Microsoft Encarta or some sort of other CD-based encyclopedia. And there might be some short video clips on there, but they were like 2 seconds long and the resolution was crap. Like in those days, I remember watching like a short clip from Star Wars in Encarta on a multimedia, like a Pentium 1 and going, ooh.
Yeah.
But
my 486...
if you saw it now, you'd probably be like, you can't even tell it's Star Wars. It was that shitty.
My 486, I got one of those encyclopedias with it. And it had these like 15-second clips, and the resolution was like 50 by 50.
Something like that, yeah.
And I would sit there for hours poring over the WAV files and the MIDI files and the movie files that were 50 by 50, just in utter shock, awe, and wonderment.
Yeah, we had much better videos to watch on our VHS tapes, but somehow when it was on the computer, it was amazing. I don't know why.
You know what it is? It's kind of like back in the day when if a video game talked to you in English, you just wet your pants.
I guess, yeah, but, a VHS tape talks to you in English all the time.
Yeah, but like the first time I played TIE Fighter and X-Wing and the people talked to me, I freaked out. And I was like, Dad, look at this, look at this, look at this. Darth Vader just said something.
Holy crap.
And I didn't know what to do. And obviously...
Yeah, you know what he said?
I'll put it this way. My parents were
Where is the ambassador?
if this is a diplomatic mission... My dad was understandably unimpressed. I don't think that anyone other than me and my friends my age and my little brother was impressed by this.
No.
I don't know what it was. It's just seeing like watching a crappy video on the computer was this magical thing, but watching a tape was just old hat.
Yeah. And in those days, the videos were AVI or MOV. It was pretty much QuickTime and Windows Media Player.
Yeah, I mean, MPEG video was around pretty early, but no one could play them. You couldn't just play it in a computer. Computers didn't have media playing things. You had to get a special MPEG player, and most of them cost money. And
it was a chip on a card, and you stuck it in your computer and ran a wire from the card to your video card. And then that was actually way beyond the days of just plain old AVI. But
yeah,
that was like the first thing after AVI came around.
It was the same thing when DVD came around. Early computers couldn't decode MPEG 2. You had to have a DVD decoder card in your computer.
Yeah, because I mean, the way it works is we had AVI, and AVI was uncompressed, but they might have just compressed the video to make it shittier and lower quality, but the video file itself required less processor to play. I mean, it was basically reading JPEGs or bitmaps and just displaying them quickly, one after the other, and these files are big and you couldn't really do much with them.
Yeah, I mean, you would if you wanted to get a video. I remember I downloaded a 5-second clip from Les Miserables, and it took like an hour, and it was super awesome. And by super awesome, I mean it was tiny and shitty and skipped.
Yep. But if you wanted to play an MPEG, which is actually a compressed video file, that means not only did your CPU have to play the video file, it also had to decompress the video file simultaneously. That was a lot of work, and the processors of the day were not capable of doing it. I mean, you think about what you have today with like the MPEG-4s and the DivXs and the XVids. If you try to play an XVid on like a Pentium 3, the thing will go like, because it doesn't have enough power to decode the XVid into playable video as fast as it's supposed to be played. I mean, it decodes one frame of the video slower than the speed at which you need to watch one frame.
I mean, pretty much video on computers was confined to animation from a game or CD content that was low quality and crap. I mean, we're not talking about streaming. The mere idea of streaming video was ludicrous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, inconceivable and impossible.
Well, because the fastest modem you could have was like a 14.4 or a 28.8, and that was way crazy by those times.
Yeah, I remember
there were 28.8s. 56K was even crazier, and that didn't come for years.
I mean, I had a 2400 baud modem, and then we upgraded, and I got a 33.6.
There was at least a year where 33.6 was it.
Yeah.
That was it. And even when 56Ks came out, they were like, not every place supported 56K, so it was like 33.6/56K.
Yeah, the first real revolution. I mean, actually, I did download an AVI. I still have it to this day. It's the first large video I ever downloaded from the internet. It's in the same directory as the first MP3 I ever downloaded or played. Other than Winamp.
It really whips.
The llama's ass.
Yeah. Now, there were you could get a video sometimes on a CD-ROM. That was pretty much the best way to get a video.
Yeah.
Because it was faster than downloading anything, is you just got 640 megabytes right there.
Except no one was making videos. So the only videos you'd get were things in like the Encarta encyclopedia that your parents bought you.
Well, for example, we had a game that came with our PC. It was Undersea Adventure. It was just a little educational aquarium game. But there were all these little videos with Jacques Cousteau, and he would say stuff. And it was cool.
I remember pouring through like FMVs and video games and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was just AVI files on CD-ROMs, and they were all short and low quality and amazing somehow.
Yeah, I remember when I had XCOM Mission UFO, and I pulled the AVI file out of it, and I made an action, a Macromedia action presentation, and I put the video in it, and I thought I was so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Macromedia
I remember
action.
Monty Python and the...
the Monty Python games.
I had the Monty Python game for Windows 3.1, and it had a lot of...
100 by 100 pixel.
It had a lot of incredibly low-resolution skit videos that were all cut short, and they were all on the CD-ROM. So whenever you're going to watch one, you had to wait for it to read the CD-ROM and then play it, and then, oh, man, those are the days.
So fast forward to the middle 56K era and the beginning for many people of the cable modem era. DSL was kind of a pipe dream back then. I mean, your options were really, if you lived in one of the places where they were testing cable modems, you could get a cable modem. I was actually very lucky in that one of the first cable modem deployments was in the area where I lived, and I had a cable modem.
Rim doesn't seem to understand, like, his time when the cable modems are coming in. It was actually when most everyone had 56K modems still.
I mean, me and my friends in high school and, like, early high school were at the point where we were playing games with low pings, and we couldn't fathom people having a ping higher than, like, 100.
Cable modems weren't widely available in most areas until, like, 2000, even, like, 99, 2000... to go on 2001.
And they were expensive.
They were really expensive. And DSL, it was sort of like, depending on where you lived, it was either DSL or cable. If you lived really close to the phone company, then DSL was coming in. If you were in a place where your cable company was really good, you got lots of cable really quick.
Yeah, cable modems kind of bridged the gap because before then, the really cool Uber people had ISDN lines.
Ooh, but those
are
still $1
Yeah, so then cable modems started appearing. And early on, the reason cable modems were so awesome is they didn't really pay attention to the bandwidth you used at all. It was free and open and fair game. Whatever you could get, you could get. And most people didn't even have computers where I lived. So
it's not like they expected anyone to have more than one computer or a computer powerful enough to use lots of bandwidth.
I also don't think they expected me and my friends and all the other geeks in the area to saturate that cable modem network immediately.
Yeah, go Napster.
Yeah, but right around that time, Real Media appeared, and they put forth something called...
Real Media appeared like in 98, way earlier.
That's when I had a cable modem.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah.
They appeared, I think, when I still had a 14.4 modem.
Most of high school, I had a cable modem.
Anyway.
Yeah, until it went to shit when we were seniors, because then everyone got a cable modem and it was still unrestricted bandwidth access. So ping skyrocketed and throughput fell apart and everything went to shit. And then I moved and I didn't care anymore. Yeah. But no, right around that time, when I had a cable modem, not that it mattered for this, Real Media appeared, and a lot of old-timers will still call any kind of real file a real audio file, a real audio player, because that's all they made back then. Real audio. It was a big, horrible, bloated application, and it would stream in incredibly low-quality audio to your computer. Live. Semi-live. It buffered for like a minute, and then it would play a 1 and 10-second clip.
I got it. All right, apparently, I looked it up just now. The first version of Real Player came out in 95, and it was Real Audio Player, which I remember that because what it could do is you would go and get internet radio, and it would take audio and compress it horrendously. It would basically sound like mostly static, but you could listen to live or semi-live streaming audio on your computer.
Yep, now then, I didn't even have a cable modem yet. That was the 33.6 modem.
Yeah, I didn't use that thing until, 97 it must have been when I tried to do that.
See, I remember a lot of websites appeared that had a bunch of real audio clips that were cool. And the ones I always looked at a lot were stuff about musicals. There'd be clips from musicals, and they would be terrible and shitty.
Yeah.
I mean, remember, there were no MP3s.
Yeah, and then there was the other player, which eventually they came out with Real Player, which is just Real Player, and it could do video, and it would do. Then there was Real Player G2, which worked better with Intel processors. Remember that?
Yeah, and there were all sorts of. Basically, Real, the company, was a collection of idiots and assholes, pretty much from the start.
Yeah, there was Real Jukebox.
They were universally reviled. They were one of the earliest, companies with really bad bloatware, spyware, and all that sort of stuff.
They've cleaned up their act mostly lately.
Yeah,
but now they've sort of no longer have a use for them.
Yeah, well, really, they're no worse than any other company out there nowadays. They don't really deserve any particular hatred or anything.
Not anymore.
People our age remember what they were and can't forgive them.
No, they pretty much started a lot of this stuff.
I mean, they were one of the first applications that would have the checkbox like, would you like to receive email from us? Would you like to subscribe to blah? Would you like to install the special handy super duper toolbar? And the thing is, it would show a list of all the things you could install, and they'd all be unchecked, so you'd click OK. But the list had a scroll bar, and if you scrolled down, you'd see that there were 40 options under the 5 at the top that weren't checked, and all the ones underneath it you couldn't see were checked.
Yep.
By default.
We're not making that up. That's absolutely true.
It was, those people, I hated them so much. And I remember the CEO of Real would always say horrible things. He was one of the earliest proponents of DRM.
Yeah. But anyway, like the thing about Reel was back in the day, they actually had an innovative and important technology in that when you had low bandwidth and a shitty processor, Reel audio and Reel video made it possible to watch or listen to audio and video streaming from the internet in horrendously low and lossy quality, but it worked. Like my 14.4 modem, I could watch CNN News in like this tiny little window, and it was minutes upon minutes of video that I could watch just by clicking on it, and it was crazy. And like it would update all the time. Like I could open up Real Player and watch the news. Like it updated 5 times a day, and that was insane.
Yep. And then there was the point at which MPEG video started getting. Computers were fast enough, and there were ways to play it for free, and you didn't need hardware anymore. And then a lot of sites hosting anime music videos or hosting, just various videos of not a lot of pirated stuff for a long time. It was mostly fan-created stuff and cool stuff people had filmed and, like, news.
Well, that was even way later, actually. The thing that happened after Real Player is if you started to use Napster mostly did MP3s, but the OpenNAP protocol that came around in like the wake of Napster, I don't know enough about it, but it's basically people were able to run servers that did the same thing Napster
did. That really kind of peaked and then died like during our freshman year of college.
It did. Well, no, it was actually around for a long time. We just didn't get into it until in college, but a lot of people were using Napster-like things like around the year 2099, 2001, in the peak of Napster to trade videos also.
See, in those days, that whole peer-to-peer thing wasn't quite fleshed out yet. And I even remember when Napster came out, I laughed at all my friends, like, why would you use that? Just go to the MP3s sites.
Exactly. It's like so many people were just using the regular Napster to do MP3s, but there were a lot of savvy people who would get, what was that program? Something Gator. Not the bad Gator, the spyware one, a different one. And you could was it Gator Nap?
I don't know. You see, I didn't do any of that. I had a bunch of websites I went to that had regular... there's Wares community today. And the Wares community back then, which was actually a long time ago, used to be very different. Though in a lot of ways, it's still very much the same. Just different punk kids, different punk kid ideals.
Yep.
But the people who were in the know, or the people who were lucky... I was one of the lucky ones because I didn't actually know any of these people, but I ended up with the passwords to a whole bunch of FTP sites that had all sorts of wares and all sorts of like anime videos and all sorts of just fun stuff in there. So I never saw the reason for peer-to-peer. Why would I waste my precious upstream bandwidth helping people?
Anyway, the next thing to happen was pretty much MPEG-4 and DivX. That was like the smash that has created the environment we have today.
Yeah, that was the industrial revolution of video on the internet.
Basically what happened is they came up with this MPEG-4, which was, hey, we can compress the video a lot, still have it look good with our fancy algorithms. You need a better CPU, and if you download about 200 megabytes of video, you can get like a half hour of really good-looking shit.
And of course, the rest was history.
Yeah, we kept...
No, honestly, there's been a lot of trend until YouTube and Google Video. The trend was away from streaming stuff because people would rather just download it.
Yeah, I mean, you could get really high-quality stuff. All you had to do was download it with, your favorite peer-to-peer thing, which, there were a lot of them over time. And the codecs kept improving. You kept getting better and better looking video with less and less download time. And,
yeah, and streaming really just came back with YouTube and Google Video, which the two single-handedly brought back the idea of that streaming video could be popular and good. And also the fact that bandwidth increased to the point to where it was feasible for the majority of cool people to be able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, Flash video, it's kind of weird, though, because people were getting higher and higher quality stuff in less and less space. YouTube and Flash video is basically like, we don't care what it looks like anymore. We spent all that effort making these awesome codecs and honing these algorithms. Now we're just going to toss them out the window. Who needs that?
Well, the thing is, YouTube and Google Video are like watching something on TV. You do it for the content. If you want the quality, you go to wherever you go to get that sort of thing and get that sort of thing and burn it to a CD and put it in your stack of 1,000 fan subs that you're never going to watch, but you can say you own.
Yeah. It's good to see that, while a lot of fan subs do end up on YouTube and some people watch them there, maybe because it's easier for them, there's still the large community and very popular group of people who, they want to watch a whole show. They're not going to freaking watch it on YouTube in 3 or 4 parts of 5 minutes each.
You'd be surprised how many young anime fans do just that.
There are a lot of people who do that, but there is still plenty of people who go and they use the BitTorrents and they download their favorite show in HD or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
HD anime.
HD anime. Or, much higher resolution. It doesn't take up that much space. It doesn't take too long to download on BitTorrent if you're watching something popular. And goddamn, is it good to have that compared to what? AVIs on a CD that are 50 by 50 and or 30 seconds long.
Go to an FTP site where you have to upload 500 megabytes before you're allowed to download 10 megabytes. So I uploaded 500 megabytes of garbage from a looping garbage file I made.
Think about that. Back in the day, you had to have a CD, all right, and you could fit on it maybe a few minutes of incredibly low resolution crap video. Nowadays, I can fit like 3 or 4 very good-looking episodes of an anime or any other TV show on a CD that just blow your mind. The difference was the CPU and not the storage space.
Well,
a CD is a CD now, is a CD then.
Yep, because they could have had those algorithms then too, but you'd look at them and no computer of the time could possibly decode that in any reasonable fashion.
Yeah, you would have to basically leave your computer running overnight and then maybe like more like days later, it would play it. You couldn't do it at the same time, decoding and watching. That's how fast your computers are. It's insane.
But yeah, I guess hopefully we offered a little bit of perspective, and sometime in the future we'll probably end this series by talking about the current state of it, the codecs that are popular now, how to get them, all that stuff. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.